Yo, what's going on, real lovers? My name is Jay Immanuel, and we're back for another Right to Real Love exclusive discussion. This time around, I got my man Will Nakuzi joining me on the
Yes,
podcast. What's
sir.
going on with you, bro?
I'm feeling good, brother. I'm feeling good.
Oh
Ready to
man,
go, man.
yes, man, this is gonna be a great discussion. Always here to help the ladies out. But Will, before we get into it, just to let the people know a little bit about you, man. I stumbled across your amazing YouTube channel. The content you're putting out is amazing, and I definitely would love for you to share with all of our real lovers so they know a little bit about you.
For sure. My name is Will Nakuzi, YouTube content creator, Pacific Islander. I'm Tongan. Been doing this. I started doing this like a year and a half ago, and put out content out there to help men become better quality men, and also have a dating show where we talk about relationships, modern dating relationships, and you guys know the struggles real nowadays. So we got to have those conversations. Yeah, but that's pretty much it for me, man.
Oh man, yo, I'm excited to have you on here. We're diving into a topic that I know is relevant to all of the ladies who are still on the dating scene, and that's why are some men not approaching them in
Mm,
2022? They want to know, like, yo, Will, why they not approaching? So I want to kick it off with I think is a question that can send us in the right direction, which is,
mm.
do you personally believe that men are always supposed to approach women?
Yes, I do believe. I do believe that's part of our biological responsibility as a man to pursue.
Mhm.
I think as women, because of the more risk involved when it comes to sex, they have to be more selective.
Mm,
So it's up to us to make sure that we prove ourselves and we have to pursue. So I think
okay,
I think that's just nature. It's just a natural way of things
right.
between men and women. Yeah.
Okay, so with that in mind, there's this debate about women approaching, men approaching, should that duty be shared? Since you are somebody that believes that the man should always approach, how do you feel when people are encouraging women to start approaching men?
Well, I understand with that perspective because it's because of the modern times, right? So
Hmm.
the culture has shifted, right?
It
So the
has.
culture has shifted, and we're gonna definitely gonna get into it in today's show. Why?
Yes.
Right?
Fact.
But back in the day when we were very traditional, it was more like our biological roles.
Hmm.
So that's why the men was always pursued, and that's just our tendency and our nature as men is to pursue. Like we know we're the hunter, hunter and
Yes,
gatherer.
sir.
So when we see what we want, we have to pursue. But of course, because of modern times, we kind of shifted
Hmm.
because of all social media, dating apps, where that process is no longer required
Right.
to
Right.
pursue to get what we want. So that's why I understand it. I still believe as men we should pursue,
Okay.
but I understand the modern times that we don't have to. And
Got you. Got you.
got you.
So, with that in mind, I want to know a little bit about you. How do you feel about women approaching you, whether it is in person or they slide in your DMs like, yo, what do you do, Will?
No, I actually appreciate it. You know,
Okay.
I appreciate it. No, I appreciate it because and you already know this, Jay. Approaching women is hard as hell.
Mhm.
It's a very difficult process. Like so,
Right.
I respect any man out there that's willing to put themselves in that position.
Hmm.
And of course, I also respect ladies that are
Hmm.
willing to do that as well because it's not easy.
Right.
Approaching men. So I like that in a woman. That means she's willing to take initiative.
Hmm.
And then that lets me know her intentions, right? Like she's
Yeah.
interested. Because that's one of
Facts.
the things like we have to figure out as men. Like, okay, is she
Hmm.
interested? Does she like me?
Right.
It's really vague, and that's why we have to go through that process. But when a woman approaches me and tells me what it is, we can skip all that. Now I know
Right.
we can skip all that shit. And
Facts.
then
Facts.
and now I know you want me. I'm looking at you. I like you too. Let's get to it.
Hmm.
All right.
Yeah, and that's the key is the one thing that I can say to women who are in the mindset of approaching men is that it does make it a lot easier if that
Yeah. Yeah.
guy is attracted to you. The moment
Yeah.
you approach, you attracted to him already because you approaching,
Yeah.
and then he reciprocates that attraction level, y'all can get past a lot of the stuff that other people kind of have to like weed
Go.
through.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all can
Mm-hmm.
get right to it because he already know that you're
Yeah.
interested. And it's the same
Exactly.
process really when you flip it and you look at men, especially when you look at men who are not necessarily approaching in person, but sliding in women's DMs and stuff.
Yeah.
At that point, you really don't have to figure out whether or not the woman is like feeling you, or
Yeah.
he definitely doesn't have to figure that out when it comes to the guy. Like, and that's the interesting thing is when men slide in women's DMs and they're trying to figure out, well, like, is he into? Yeah, he into you. It's the same thing here, because why would he be sliding into the DMs of a woman that he has
Yeah,
no interest in? So
yeah,
once
exactly.
again, when a man slides in your DMs, women, you already
You
have an
know,
advantage, because now it's just whether or not you're attracted to him or not, and you can just continue to flow from there. But like, it's so funny when I hear guys talking when they slide in a woman's DMs and then they trying to figure out, whether or not she know that they like her. Yeah, she should know. Like, you approached, you slid in the DMs.
yeah,
Like, I mean, it's kind of apparent.
yeah. We wouldn't do it. if
Facts.
we wouldn't
Facts.
approach you if we didn't like you. So
Right.
the fact that we did, that's all you need to know. But it's up to them to accept it or not.
Yeah. And here's the thing. We know that some men are not down with women approaching them. Like, for them, it's a complete turnoff. And I'm curious, from the male perspective, can you share with the women, is there any indications or any signs that a man does not want to be approached, so that women who are open to approaching can know not to approach that guy?
Yeah. I think sometimes women, because they're doing this for the first time, they may not know how to approach a guy. So maybe they come off too strong.
Hmm.
I really, yeah, that's a really interesting conversation. I never thought it from that perspective, because for me, I really like it. When a
Hmm.
woman approaches me, like
Yeah.
we can skip it, and then I know she likes me, and if
Hmm.
I like her, then we can just get right into it.
Right.
Uh, but I do believe that sometimes that women who approach men, sometimes like maybe they come off too strong. Sometimes I think.
Okay. Okay.
So I think yeah, yeah, that's interesting. I never had that discussion. If because for a lot of guys based on my circle,
Hmm.
if a woman approaches us, like, and it rarely happens, lady, this doesn't
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. Like, let's be clear. It is something that is very rare.
I got probably twice in my life a woman's
Okay. No, that's real. That's real.
that's never approached me.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so from my personal experience, I've never had a guy complain, oh, that a woman that he liked approached him and there was a
Mhm.
problem with it. But I think maybe I think it's just the way she approaches. Like it's not what
Right.
they say, it's how they say it. You know.
That's
It's-
key. That's key.
So
Yeah, and
what do you think?
I say, like, what comes to my mind is, if a woman is approaching and a man is, like I said, some men, they just don't like women that approach, and I feel like in those instances, you already kind of like fighting a losing battle. But this is what I would say: if a man is against a woman approaching him, there is a potential way that a woman can salvage it. And I think one of the main reasons why those men have an issue is because they think that the woman is going to try to be in a dominant role. So I think a woman
Oh, got you.
approaches, the approach, as you mentioned, like, that's like the hunter type role. The minute you make the initial approach, you introduce yourself to him and you start the conversation, at some point, I feel like a woman has to transition into taking the more, for lack of a
Feminine,
better term, like,
feminine.
passive, or feminine role, where
Yeah,
you let the man take over. You made the initial connection, you made that first interaction, but then don't continue to lead the conversation. Don't, ask
got
him
you,
for his number
got
or
you.
nothing like that. Like, put the ball back in his court. It's just kind of like, you going on, like, if you out there playing basketball on the pickup court, as a female baller, and it's some dude sitting on the bench, it's like going over to the bleachers and be like, yo, y'all want to play a game? And then if they say, yeah, yeah, I play with you, shorty, you pass him the ball and let him direct the traffic going forward. It's not like you hogging the ball and you telling everybody, well, you go over there, you're gonna be on these teams. That's when the dude is like, hold on, shorty. Like, I don't mind playing with you, but like, chill, like, understand, like, I got to take the command of this team at this moment. And I think it's very similar in that way, where a woman can make the initial approach, let a guy know that she's interested just based on that, and then give him the opportunity to take the lead. Because I
Take the
think
lead.
that'll show
Mm.
if he's really interested. Is he'll try to take that lead, and some women may not be receptive to that, and that could be where guys are like, nah, even though you approached, I'm not with it.
Now you made a great point. Yeah, like I think for guys that's very traditional, and
Hmm.
a woman that might approach them, that can be very unconventional because we're not used to that. Right?
Right.
I'm not gonna lie. When a girl approached me for the first time, like I was taken back. I was like, what the hell is
Hmm.
happening?
Right.
I was like, what is going on here?
Right.
Yeah, but then I realized like this is just modern times, right? And
Hmm.
women are there's a trend now that women are starting to do it.
Mhm.
But I totally understand where you're coming from. That if a woman comes, we're, masculine men, we like feminine women, and sometimes
Mhm.
if the women are coming up, when I said too strong, I think
Mhm.
the better term was to use. Well, I wanted to use was too masculine. It came out too
Okay.
masculine. Hey,
Okay.
I want, because look, I went to a HBCU, all right,
Mhm.
in Hampton, Virginia.
Nice.
All right. And that was the first time I went. When that was the first time the women were very direct with me. They just came up to
Okay.
me, hey man, I want you. Let's get it. I was like,
Mhm.
dang.
He was like, "Yo, they do it different out here."
Yeah, exactly. They do it different down here. So I mean, I'm not like it was cool, but for me, I was like, that would when a woman comes
Yeah.
and tells me like she just wants to let's
Mhm.
get right into it, let's have sex, let's do it.
Yeah.
It was something different for me. And
Right.
for me, I'm maybe I'm maybe into my masculinity, so
Mhm.
I may be put off by that. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I like doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like doing that. But if a woman does it, it's just I'm attracted to feminine women. So if they come
Mhm.
and be direct like me, because I'm very direct when I approach women, I just tell them, hey, what's up? How you doing?
Right.
What's going on? So if I feel that from a woman, that masculine
Mhm.
energy that I have, I do feel kind of like uncomfortable a little bit.
Right. Nah, and that's fair. The one thing that comes to my mind is I think that whenever you meet somebody, there's always questions that you have about that person.
Yeah.
I feel that when a woman makes that initial approach on a man, it pops up the wrong type of questions in his head.
Yeah.
Because then the man is like, how often is she doing this? Like,
Yes.
how many other dudes is you approaching like this?
Yeah.
Like, what type of time are you on? Like, are you for the streets? Like, I mean, why are you so comfortable doing this? Are you like a hunter? So that's the one thing that I would say is it can give off a negative impression. I think
Mm.
that initially a man, like you mentioned, would be kind of flattered, the ego will pop up, be like, oh yeah, that was dope. But
Yeah.
then it's like after the dust settle, you're gonna be like, hold on, like how often should she be doing this? Does she be sliding in everybody DMs like this? Like what
Exactly.
type of time is she on? Is she a
Yeah.
scammer? Is she trying to get something? Like what? Like what? You got all these questions, but they're not questions about, oh man, like I wonder what she's into. I wonder where we can hang out again. Like it's leading you in the opposite direction. And I'll be honest, I've never really analyzed that until we're having this conversation now. I've
Yeah,
in
me
the
too.
past, I've advocated for women, being go-getters. Like if you see a guy and he not, coming at you, like make that initial interaction, like not necessarily going over there asking him for his digits, but if you see a guy that you like, speak first, smile, like I've
Yeah.
always been a person who's advocated a woman doing those type of things to let a guy know that she's interested, but not to the point of taking the lead, approaching him with the sole purpose of like getting his digits and all of that type of stuff. I feel like that is aggressive, masculine, whatever adjective a person uses to describe it.
Yeah, I think if you approach a man in a very feminine way, I think that's the key, right? If you
Yeah.
approach him in a very masculine way, I think for a lot of
Mhm.
men, especially if the man's masculine himself, he may be put off or by that energy. But just maybe not like I know a lot of women like they just approach you and just be very they just compliment you.
Mhm. Mhm.
For men, we barely get any compliments.
Right, right.
So like that feels good. A
Yeah.
woman compliments you, and also like if you're aware as a man, women
Mhm.
don't just compliment anybody.
Right.
So if
They
she's
don't.
complimenting you, that's like a sign right there. And
Mhm.
then for you to initiate that conversation with her. But yeah, you're totally right. Yeah, it's interesting. I never really thought about that dynamic
Yeah.
because and of course, and you're absolutely right. Like as men, we know the game. So
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
the woman is putting that game back on us, we're like, hold
Right.
up.
Right, right. I mean, it's not saying that she gonna get
Yeah,
deleted, like she not necessarily gonna get kicked out of, the possibility of moving forward.
yeah.
But all I'm saying is it will lead a man, at least it'll lead me to ask questions
Ask
that are
questions. Yeah,
not leading me in the direction of moving forward with you at a pace that may be faster. It's actually
yeah,
it's gonna put me back into my logical, analytical mind, right? Like, and as you know, men, that's usually how we operate. But at some point, when a woman is feminine in nature, that could get a guy to open up more emotionally. Like you're drawing more of an emotional connection to that man, and he's not just evaluating you solely from a logical perspective where he's like, oh, okay, well, she's this, she looked like this, she was talking like this, she was exuding this type of energy, but you start to like actually have a feel or a vibe or a emotional connection with that woman. And I feel like as a woman, if you're operating in your feminine energy, that's really what you aiming for. Is if I'm solely evaluating you from a logical perspective, then you got some work to do. Because at some point I should start to feel emotionally connected where I'm like, dang, like, man, I feel like I want to talk to Shorty. I feel like I want to see her again. It's not like, oh, I check my schedule and I have this free time and she's free there. Like, I'm not analyzing the situation, but I'm feeling it. Like, yo, I kind of want to feel that vibe that I was feeling the last time I was speaking to her. I wonder what she up to right now.
Hey, I just thought about this. I want to
Mhm.
ask you, since we're talking about women approaching men, does
Mhm.
does the location matter of where she approaches you? So if a woman approaches you, say in a club, does it
Mhm.
make a bigger difference than if she just approaches you at a grocery store?
Like in real estate, location is everything. Locate and even more so to me, like people who know me, they
Yeah,
know one of my favorite words starts with a C. Context. Context is everything.
yeah,
The context in which I meet a woman, the context in which we are developing, this rapport, this relationship, whatever the case may be, it matters. And
yeah,
location is a part of that context. It
yeah.
definitely plays a role. That doesn't mean that, if it's a club versus out at, a grocery store or something, that I'm a not going like this. The location isn't going to make my response a default. Meaning that I'm
Mhm.
not just gonna be like, because I'm in the club, I'll never date or take a woman serious that I meet in the club. I feel like
Yeah,
that's not me moving in a place where I'm really analyzing each situation uniquely, because every woman is different. Every
mm,
situation that you meet a person is different. And because you like, think about it, just because you meet a woman in a club, she could be a club goer, or maybe she's not. Maybe she's there celebrating with one of her girlfriends, and this is not really her scene. Well,
yeah,
I'm not really a club guy. So if I'm in the club and I'm like, yo, this ain't really my scene either, and I meet a chick and she like, yo, this ain't my scene either, I'm over there with my girls. Boom, we
yeah,
connect instantly, not because of the club, but if I'm like, oh, I met her at a club, I ain't really with it. No, the
yeah.
context behind how we met in this location matters, at least to me.
Would it be fair to say that if you meet her at the club, your guard will be up a little bit more?
It will.
It-
Until I'll put it like this. I have to figure out the context of why she's there. Like, to me, intent is very important. So any there's a reason why you anywhere, even the grocery
yeah,
store, right?
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So like, I want to know the intent for why you're here.
mm,
Is you here at the club, like I said, using the example of you just here because your girls
yeah,
kind of drag you along, or are you here because you looking for the hottest rapper, or you heard such and such was gonna be in the building tonight, or you trying to come up on something, or you just like to get your rocks off, so you just here to find somebody that can put that on you for tonight. Like,
yeah,
all of that matters. So to me, location is important. And then second, what is your intention? Like, what is the intention for you being here? That matters. And that
yeah,
all kind of plays into that puzzle of context, putting all of those pieces together.
yeah. And then how, and then of course, how the way she does it, right? So if she approaches you and
Yeah.
then she lets you back in control, right?
Hmm.
All
Hmm.
right, okay, yeah. Yeah. I think for me, if I met a girl in the club and she approached me, I would my guard would be up a little bit more, but
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
mean that I would I would absolutely say no. I
Right.
definitely need to get to. I'll definitely vet her a lot harder.
Yeah. Yeah.
better, definitely
Facts.
better a lot harder than I would if I just met somebody
Mhm.
at a grocery store.
Right.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
now that I saw the main distinction, the main point that you made is that if she approached me, yeah, my guard is definitely going to be up if a
yeah.
woman is approaching me in a club. Yeah, most definitely. No doubt. No doubt. I am, because I immediately need to identify what is your intent.
Mhm.
What is your intent? So yeah, that's important to me as well. And even just the state that she in. Is she sober? Is she drunk? Like, how is she
Oh,
moving and
that's
operating in this
yeah.
environment right now? So yeah.
Maybe it's just the
Nah, that's good.
alcohol.
That's good.
Maybe like T
So
Pain said, just blame it on the alcohol.
right, yo. Hey, that's gotten a lot of people into and out of some situations. So, but no, I thought that was a really good way to kind of bring this conversation in, because there's always this different perspectives of men versus women approaching. Should it be a combination of the two?
Mm.
But for our topic, the main thing is, why are some men not approaching? What do you think is the reason why some men aren't approaching women? Specifically in 2022.
Let's get right into it. So
Let's
I
get
got,
to
I love
it.
this novel. So for me, three things stand out
Okay.
why a lot of men are not approaching women now. I think number one, the thing that stands out to me is feminism. Feminism killed it. Feminism ruined it, and I want to be clear: radical feminism, like third wave
Yeah.
feminism, not the first wave where women wanted equal opportunity, which is I believe in respect. But this third wave feminism, where they want everything equal as a man, they want equal outcomes,
Right.
as a man. So, yeah, I think radical feminism or third wave feminism has kind of ruined it for a lot of men, and we live in a time now where, and I see this in America because I can't speak for other countries, people watching this right now, but I speak this because I live in America. That a lot of the things that we're getting demonized for being men, right? So I'm sure you see it on social media. For back in the day that pursuing women was something that was celebrated. It was normal. But now there's this culture now that if you pursue a woman, it's like you're a pervert, right?
Right.
So we're a pervert, we're weird, we're stalking women, and you see videos out there, feminists making that type of content, posting those type of videos. For a lot of men, it's like, shoot, yeah, I'm getting shamed for approaching women. I'm getting shamed for just being a man. So I think that's one of the things I do see, that feminism is like we're getting demonized for just being men.
Okay.
Right. And and let's be honest. To be fair, there's a lot of guys out there that don't know how to approach women. And that's
right.
So let's be fair.
Respectfully.
Yeah, respectfully. There's a lot of guys that just weirdos, stalkers. Guys that have the way they approach women is very disrespectful. But that's not all men. There's not all men. There's a lot of men out there that do approach women in a nice way. But feminism has categorized us all in one group.
Right.
All right. So it's hard to approach something that there's a risk, especially now with phones, right? So if you approach a certain type of woman, and she might take a camera and take a video of you, take a picture of you, and post it out there. So look at this guy stalking me, being a pervert, and you might go viral.
Right. So for all the wrong reasons.
For all the wrong reasons. You just had a good intent. You had a really good intention. I saw you, wanted to approach you. But I do see that on social media, where women would make videos of the guys that are trying to approach him and then demonize them and that's and based on my conversation with guys, like, yeah, and they've had experiences before. But if the fellows are watching this, that shouldn't be a reason to discourage you. I think as a man, you should still go out there and pursue. But I think that's one of the challenges.
That's not every woman, right?
Yeah, it's not every woman. So I want to be fair. But I do see that's one of the reasons that's affecting of why men are not approaching.
Okay.
I think one of the things I also see is the internet, and the access to sex on the internet, and especially porn. Right. So one of the things I always talk about is, like, men biologically, like, we want sex. We want access to sex.
Right.
So back in the traditional times, if we want to access to sex, we had to approach you. Right. We had to approach you. Right. And if you wanted the woman, you had to, have courage and go out there and approach women. If you get rejected, it is what it is. You have to keep getting rejected until you find that woman. So that was the process in order to get that. So now in modern times, men don't need to approach women to get access to sex.
Right.
And as as humans, it's our human nature to always take the path of least resistance. So if you want to see sex as a man, you can go watch porn online. You can have this OnlyFans, even though it may not be physical.
Right.
But like I said, it depends on, you're still getting access to it. So I think because of modern times, because of porn, because of our access to the internet, a lot of guys, like, I can still I don't need to approach women anymore. So I can still get what I want and without going through that process. And I think eliminating that process back in the times, it's causing a lot, for me personally, I think a lot of men, it doesn't make men to become stronger men. It's actually weakening
them. Not at all. Oh yeah, right? Definitely.
Yeah, because in order to approach women, you have to like dig deep into yourself and be courageous. And you're like, oh,
exactly.
Right. So as a man, you have to, like, damn, I'm afraid I might get rejected, but that's just part of life. You have to go through those hardships in order to just strengthen you, right? And your confidence to approach women. But because of modern times, men don't need that. So they never go through that process of approaching women, never get the reps, never get those repetitions of getting rejected. So they build up that perseverance. Also, just communicating with women. right?
Exactly.
Talking with women. That's
Mhm.
that's a habit that you
Developing
have.
that comfort.
That's that skill, right?
Yeah.
So men today, because of internet, because of modern times, because of porn, only and the sex industry that we have now on the internet.
Mhm.
That's why a lot of men is like, I don't need to do that no more. I
Right.
rather I don't want to get rejected. I don't want to get
Right.
rejected. So I'd rather take the path of least resistance,
Mhm.
and I'll just go and watch some porn, pay some, my favorite woman content creator on OnlyFans. I get what I needed, get what I out of it. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of guys are not approaching women anymore.
Okay.
Um, and I think the third thing I would say is just for me personally, I think that the good thing about back in the day is a lot of guys saw a lot of men doing it. So there was
Mhm.
examples of that we saw, like, this is what we do.
Right.
Now we don't really have a lot of strong masculine male figures. A lot of men are not growing up with strong fathers in the house to teach them
Mhm.
to see that type of behavior.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things too, is like we just the a lot of guys don't have that male leadership, that male guidance to teach them, and that's why I believe that the manosphere or the male space
Mhm.
is blowing up, because a lot of these guys are looking for answers, and they don't have it in their own life, so that's why they come to that's why a lot of social media content like yourself, like my show,
Mhm.
all those guys out there doing that work. That's why those guys are tuning in, because they don't get it. They have no idea,
Right.
because these guys are not dating or not approaching
Mhm.
women. They have no clue.
Right.
They have no clue, so they're
Facts.
looking for answers.
Mhm.
Because even though they're watching all these things online, what happens is they're going to mature, grow old, and they can't do that forever.
Right.
Eventually, they're going to get older. They want to approach a woman in real life. They want to get a
Mhm.
wife. They want a real girlfriend. So a lot of these young guys, when they grow out of it,
Mhm.
they're looking for guys to teach them.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we don't have that in America. I know that's a different topic, but I do see a trend in America of the
Mhm.
breakdown of the family. There's
Mhm.
now the removal of the father out the household, and I think
Right.
as men, part of our growth is like we need that healthy masculine male figure in the house. Hey,
Do.
so that way when we get ready for dating, we have somebody to talk to. Hey, Dad,
Exactly.
uh, I don't know. I'm afraid to go to talk to that
Right.
girl. And your dad
Right.
would tell you the game. He'll spit that
Exactly.
game on you. All right, I know. Hey,
Yeah.
I've been doing this. I've done that. I've been rejected
Mhm.
many times, but this is the normal process. Just go out there and ask her. If she gets rejected,
Right.
keep it moving.
Mhm.
So we don't have that yet. We don't have that masculine leadership and male figure,
Right.
and also like having a place where we can get it. That's why I'm a big supporter of channels teaching men how to be good, strong, healthy men.
Right. It's
Um,
important.
yeah, but yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Based on
Nah,
what.
all three of those are on point, man. And I think it's important for women to recognize that, right? Number one was feminism. Number
Hmm.
two had to do with
Access
the
to
fact
sex.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, access to sex. And, to me, with that one, it's that the man may be getting the sex piece, but the other part of a relationship that we know is just as important is that intimate companionship.
Yes.
And
Yes.
like that part is missing. And that's why, like you mentioned later on in
In
life,
life.
those dudes
Hmm.
that was using that, now they like, oh, hold on.
Oh
Where's the
no.
companionship? Where's the
Yep.
intimacy? Like, that's why you actually need a physical woman, like,
Yeah.
to
Yep.
provide the intimacy and the companionship. So that's important. And then, like you said, that third one is not having those models.
Yeah.
Having those models is extremely important.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, yeah, that's on point. So let's kind of flip it a little bit and look
Hmm.
at the woman's role. What
Hmm.
are some things that women may be doing that are preventing men from approaching them? So maybe it's not those men that fit in those three categories, but it's something they don't have no problem approaching women essentially, but now it's something that the woman may be displaying or showing or doing that's preventing him from approaching. What would you say that may be?
The biggest thing I think that's stopping a lot of women from being open to men is like me personally. I see that number one, if you're a feminist, you're already losing. You just I can't help you on that one.
Yeah.
Because if you're a feminist, you're always gonna see men in a very negative perception.
Mhm.
That I mean, and I have my own dating show, and I have feminists that come on there. And whenever a man approaches them, they always like have this negative perception, like, "Oh, he's about to get me."
Mm,
And I think you can't have that type of mentality, especially when it comes to
right,
dating. Dating, you have to be
right.
open, like you said. You have to be very cognizant and be open.
Mhm,
A lot of people have bad relationships, so they operate out of fear. So as soon as a guy
mhm.
approaches, like they always think of the worst case scenario.
Right.
So I think you have to be very open minded. But I think what I see is and I'm great we can have this conversation. I do see a lot of women today. They're very masculine. They're
Mm-hmm.
very feminine.
Now, how do
So
you define that? Like, I've had conversations with other men, and I think it's important for each man to identify like how they define masculine. So, before you continue, and I don't mean to cut you off, but
oh
I
no
just
no
want to
no no.
help the ladies. How do you define a masculine woman? Like, what does that entail to you?
Oh, for me, a masculine woman is a woman that has masculine traits of a man,
Okay,
right?
such as
Biological. There's biological differences between men and women. Men are very more assertive, we're more assertive, more disagreeable. These are all things that you can recognize just by looking difference between
Mhm.
men and women. There's also this data out there, and research shows that there's differences in our personality and how we operate. All
Right.
right, so we're more assertive, we're more disagreeable as men, we're, and we're more willing to be more we're more confident, more assertive, and we disagree with women.
Mhm.
Uh, and when I see a woman, and then because the women is like nurturing, caring, loving,
Mhm.
right? So
Right.
this is the difference between men and women.
May I ask you a better question?
Yeah.
Have you had any encounters or experiences with masculine women that you can think of at this moment?
As far as dating, or like, what's the
Or just
context?
in general? Like it can be in from a dating perspective or just in general where you were like, yo, that was a masculine woman.
Yeah. So like women. When I go, I've gone on a dating scene with masculine women, right? And
Okay.
then
Tell us about one of those experiences. How did that story play out?
all right, yeah. Oh, and the last trait I forgot, like ambition. Ambitious
Okay.
women,
Right.
assertive women, and disagreeable women, right? So I remember there was I've gone on a dating scene with masculine women, and then the thing is for me is like when we talk about, we have communicated, like what she look for,
Hmm.
what is she looking in her, what she offers to the table, and everything she talks about for her is like she acts like a man, like she acting like I would
What's
do.
she doing?
Oh, I was like, yeah, well, she's not feminine. She was like, I'll have a career, have goals. I don't need a guy to take care of me. I can do everything on my own. If the independent energy mentality.
Okay.
So talk about children.
Hmm.
I don't, what about you? Talk about the families. Oh, you know what? I'll have kids when I want to. Maybe now. I'll have it later. Okay,
Hmm.
it was all right. So like, it's just for me. It's just like when I'm talking to her, I just sounded like I'm talking to a man. I'm not
Right.
talking. I'm not talking to a woman.
Yeah.
So for
And I'm
me,
curious. Oh no, go ahead. I
no, no,
apologize.
no, no, go ahead, no, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it just brought the question to mind. What does she want from you? Because that's always the question that comes to my mind when women be like, "Well, I don't need a man for this. I don't need." I just always stop and think, well, okay, so what do you need a man for? Like, why
Yeah,
are
that's
you interested in dating and relationship?
exactly. Well, she was like, that's the question, right? She's like, why do you need me? And she said, oh, I just want a partner. I could do everything on my own, but I just want a partner. And then for me, as like, I don't. For me, when she's saying the things that she's looking for, she wants out of
Mhm.
life. For me as a man, what I'm always looking is, how do I fit into her life?
Mm,
So
okay.
so she says, like, I don't need a provider, protector. I don't need a guy to take care of me. All right, but the thing is, for me, is like, as a man, and I like taking care of my woman.
Right.
That's how I connect with her. I love doing that.
Hmm.
It makes me emotionally connect with that woman when she allows me to take care of her.
Hmm.
I find joy and happiness taking care of my woman, and she
Right.
appreciates that from me. So I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, you don't need me to take care of you. I was like, okay, then, like, I don't. I'm trying to figure out how does that gonna work in that dynamic,
Right.
right? She tells me, like, oh, I don't need a leader. I
Hmm.
want to be able to 50-50. I want to be able to make decisions. For
Hmm.
me, I like to lead my household. That's how I was taught in my house.
Hmm.
I'll lead the family. And the thing is, like, well, I always ask about, the one thing I always pay attention to women is like how we when we disagree on things, how does she respond to that,
Right.
right? And
Hmm.
sometimes when we have conversations and we come to things that are very disagreeable, you can tell that sometimes, like, they get emotionally, like, heated, like, in
Hmm.
the simplest things we disagree on, right?
Hmm.
The simplest things. So for me, it's like, when I'm very disagreeable. I'm a very disagreeable person, because
Okay.
I have my beliefs, what I believe in. I have things I want in my life. So the
Hmm.
thing is, like, I see that every time that we disagree, I can tell we're already, like, we're already gonna be battling each other.
Right.
So
Right.
that's why for me personally, I appreciate more feminine, agreeable women.
Hmm.
And when I say agreeable women, doesn't mean like I'm gonna walk all over and she agrees to everything
Right.
that I say. I'm saying is like when we have conflict, that we're
Hmm.
able to work it out
Right.
in a manner to lead to a solution and not spend so much time like going against each other. All
Right.
right, because that's
That's important.
for me is like when we go through conflict. Okay, let's figure out a solution. And for me, it's like when I deal with women who are more agreeable, like
Hmm.
they're willing to. The most important thing for me when I see women who are very agreeable, they're willing to listen.
Right. That's important.
They're willing to listen,
Right.
so they'll hear me out. But when I deal with very
Yes.
masculine women, they're not listening.
Right.
I'm
Hmm.
telling you from my perspective, like they won't listen.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's something that's what I noticed with women. Not only my personal life, but
Hmm.
also like women on my dating show are very masculine. It's very
Mm.
when we come into disagreements, it's always like they always get heated and they get
Hmm.
angry. They get angry
Right.
so much, and it takes away from like the conversation or like the
Hmm.
whole point of this is like to figure out a solution.
Right. Right. Now, I'm really glad that you brought that up, and I just want to state this for all of the ladies watching. I know that this doesn't apply to every woman,
Yeah,
and
every woman.
this
Yeah.
is no, no, not necessarily. Yeah, to what you were saying, but really to what I'm about to say next, because I don't want
Okay.
nobody to take it and run with it
Yeah.
and think I'm coming at somebody's neck. I'm really not. This is just a theory of mine. When the woman that you just described, who is saying she doesn't need a man for this, that, and the third, like she can take care of everything, whoop de wop, right?
Mm.
It reminds me of a person that is like just collecting accomplishments or collecting degrees just so that they have those letters behind their name or in front of their name. Like
Yeah.
it's really just to be able to show it that you got it. Kind of, you know what it kind of reminds me of? I think this is the best way I can put it. The way they say some men have trophy wives. I feel like that is a
Mm.
woman's like it's like the woman equivalent of a trophy wife is she has a partner in name,
Yeah.
but not in the sense of true intimacy, true connection, true masculine and feminine balance in one another, and not even honestly in the name of a partnership. It's just a partnership in name only, not really a companion, not really a spouse, not really a life, partner. It's just you just need this guy so that you can say, I checked that box off. I'm married, or I got a man, or whatever the case may be, right? That's just what it makes me think of. I'm not saying that that is the case. That's just my theory. Is I feel like if you don't really need a man, but you're out there dating, you are looking for a partner. Maybe it's just the fact that the same way some people are just chasing new degrees is not. It's funny, right? Because have you ever seen people who are chasing like a new degree or some type of new certification, but it will do nothing to increase like their profitability? Meaning like
Yeah.
your salary is not going to get a bump because of it. It's just like you're
Yeah.
just doing it just to be like, I also got that degree or I
Yeah.
also got that certification. It's like, what's the point of investing in something that isn't going to give you a tangible result, at least in my mind, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. When I talk to these women, it's like I think from their perspective, I
mhm,
think that when they talk about the degrees, they have this like I think some of them believe that that's what we're looking for. So they think like sexual attraction is like um is it's the same between men and women. So like sometimes because I can tell
I won't say.
sometimes when I
Mhm.
can tell them when they say, "Oh, I have this degree," I can tell when they're looking at me, they think I'm gonna get impressed.
Right, right.
Right? Because you can
Yeah,
tell like they have this pride, have this degree. So
yeah.
I can just tell like they think, oh, like, I'm gonna be really impressed. This is what I'm
Mhm.
looking for. But my mom's like, no, that doesn't do it. I don't care. I mean, I'm not saying that
Right,
in a I don't care. I don't respect her degrees. I'm just saying that when it comes to my attraction to you, that does
right.
nothing for me. That does nothing for me.
Yeah, it doesn't help to develop an emotional connection. And I feel like when we have these conversations about men and women and their approach to dating and relationships is I mentioned it earlier, it's about the emotional connection. As a man, a woman is moving in the right direction with me if she is allowing me to connect with her more emotionally, where I'm
Yeah.
not just looking at things solely from a logical perspective. And it's similar in this regard. Telling me about your degree does nothing for me from an emotional standpoint.
Yeah.
But for a woman, it does. When a man has, a degree, he has a profession that you can look and say, oh, that is going to provide security. you have an emotional reaction to that, to like,
Yeah.
okay, cool, I have peace, I can relax knowing that, okay, we may not have any financial troubles, or if we do, they can be minimized based on,
Mm,
whatever his degree is in, or whatever, profession he works in, or however much he's earning, whatever the case may be. I'm not saying that that's always going to create a emotional reaction or connection for women, but I
mm.
think it does put those women who value that, it puts them at ease and be like, okay, okay, that's a quality that I wanted in a man that is there. And now I can open myself up to this man to a greater degree because I know he's able to meet that need.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, what it comes down to me, and this is just my take on it, is I think that some women, let me be clear, some women have confused the fact that what women desire in men is what men desire in
The
women.
same. Yeah.
And that is not the case. And I think that kind of goes back to what you were talking about, that version of radical feminism,
Yeah.
where you will have everything needs to be equal, but we're not completely equal. Like you have to realize that
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, like equality is necessary in certain aspects, but context is important.
Yeah.
Everything can't be equal.
Yeah.
If it is, then it loses its individuality. Like
Mm,
that's what I don't understand when people are, being proponents of equality in areas where it actually will take away from the individuality, in this case of men and women. Why do you want men and women to be exactly the same? Like that makes absolutely no sense to me personally, because especially being a person who is a believer in the Bible, or just in science, however you
yeah.
look at it,
Yeah.
we have two different genders that are operating on this planet. There's a reason why they're not completely the same. There's a reason why they're different. There's a reason why they have different functions and different roles. When we come in and say, oh no, we need to reverse that, we need to change it, that role needs to now be applied to it's like, what are you doing? Like that's totally messing up the natural order of things in the world that we live in. But by all means, human beings can make the choices that they make. They can make those changes, and we see it happening in our modern society all of the time. It's just the fact that now we have the challenge of, especially from a dating perspective, navigating through which people are trying to change nature that I'm coming into. Like, okay, now I got to learn how to operate in the sense of, oh, you don't look at nature the right way. Okay, you don't really value and understand the reasons that there's individuality and differences between men and women. That just makes it more challenging. It's like, yo, can we just get back to a place where men and women understand that we are different? There's nothing wrong with that, and there is
Exactly.
actually a way for us to complement one another and be a benefit to one another mutually. But hey, it is what it is, man.
No, no, that's the thing. That's the thing I see, right? With a lot of the feminine women, the feminist women or the masculine women, like you said, feminism was all about equal opportunity, right? But now these feminists or these masculine women, like what they're confused by, because they want equal outcome. Because see,
Right.
because they see the guys who are very successful, career oriented, got a high social economic status, and they're attracting all women,
Mhm.
right? But then they look at them themselves because they think that sexual attraction is symmetrical. They're like, well, the guy is successful and got a career. He's getting all the women. I'm successful. I got a career. None of these men are
Right.
at my door.
Mhm.
And that's something I have to explain to him. Like, we're not the same. You want an equal outcome as a man, but we can never get equal outcomes because
Right.
biologically we're different. If we
Right.
were the same, then you will get the same outcome.
Right. And look at it, man. Individuality is the reason why outcomes are different. Like it's
Yeah,
not a gender war. It's
yeah,
if anything, you're at war with individuality, because essentially what you're trying to do is just clone one individual and make everybody like them. People don't see it that way, but that's really what you're trying to do, is you're warring against individuality. Because let's even remove women from the equation. Me and you are two different men, and I promise you that we've had different experiences when it
mhm,
comes to women.
facts.
It's not because, oh, I'm better, you're better, one of us is better. It's just that because of the way we were raised, because of the influences that we had on our life, the outcomes in life in certain areas are going to be different.
Mhm.
Just because I'm Jay, you're Will, we're two
Yeah,
different individuals. If I'm expecting to get what Will is getting and I don't do what Will is doing, I wasn't raised the same way that Will was raised. I don't have the same understanding, the same way of thinking. I don't look the way Will look. I'm not as tall as Will. Like all of those things are going to impact my outcome. That
mm,
doesn't mean that Will is a bad guy because I can't produce the same results as Will. It's just I have to figure out, well, am I maximizing what I'm able to do? That's my goal. My goal shouldn't be to replicate my life after you or anybody else. It should be, am I reaching my full potential? And that's just the way that I kind of look at it. Is it's more about individuality, tapping into, people may look at it, potential, purpose. Are you maximizing why you were put here on this earth? Yeah, you can look at other people, and we're gonna do that. It's human nature to compare ourselves to other people. But to your point, when I start wanting the outcomes of another person and I ignore the fact that me and that person are different,
Yeah, exactly.
I lost sight of that logical argument. That it becomes a logical fallacy at that point, because where's the logic isn't there, because you're ignoring how this equation even started.
And what I'm starting to see, right, that these women who are, they do really well for themselves, or they're more masculine than the average woman, right? More masculine. One thing I do start to see is, that's why we were talking about before, like they're demonizing men, right, from approaching. So they see that none of these men are approaching, right? None of these men are approaching, and then and then they blame the men.
Right.
Yeah, right. Oh, see, the men are the problem, and a lot of these women who are very masculine, very successful, like they're very influential, because they have a lot of followers, right? And I see this trend. So a lot of them, they go on social media, they post content, and a lot of these young girls, they see what they post, and they're telling girls the wrong message. They're like, you know what? I'm career oriented. I'm a career oriented woman. None of these guys approaching me. They're insecure. They're intimidated by my success, and there's no self-reflection to look with themselves. Because for me, when I don't get the outcome I want, I never look external. I always internally look within myself. Yep. I always start here, right? And a lot of these women don't never look, and and of course, it doesn't make it easier when they have that belief that we're equal. That feminism does not help.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't help. And so they put all this, and even if there was a guy that had the courage enough to even approach that woman, right? Because of all that ideology and being masculinized, she's gonna see him, she's gonna view him in a negative way. And then I just see this trend with all these women who are not getting approached by men. Like they're shaming the men, or they're blaming everything on the men. Men are trash, this and this. They never trust a man. And I see that type of content that's produced, and I see all these thousands and millions of young women watching this.
Right.
And it's sad to see that a lot of these young girls, and sometimes I have girls earlier on my show that 18, young, 18, and just out of high school, already have that ideology.
Wow.
And starting at a really young age, and I know it's starting even younger than 18, and that's what's affecting why a lot of guys that's why a lot of guys are not approaching, because the women that a lot of these girls, the type of women they look up to, the social media influencers that got the money, that got the prestige, got the socioeconomic status, and a lot of them don't attract good, healthy, masculine relationships. A lot of them have bad experiences with men, and they discourage women to think like them, or do the exact same thing they're doing.
And
go ahead. Yep.
No, please.
No. It just repeats the cycle. The cycle just keeps going. Go ahead.
It does. No, I just wanted to point out, it goes back to something that you mentioned before. One of the biggest differences is now a lot of our models are outside of the home. Right?
Yeah.
We're on the internet, and this is the danger of that. Don't get me wrong. I think that we can be motivated and inspired by people from afar, but I think that we need to be very mindful of modeling our lives and our behavior after them. The reason why is because, to your point earlier, if the motto is our father for men, or our mothers for women, or sisters, aunt, cousins, whatever the case may be, but let's just stick with mother and father. We get to see them every day. Yes. Meaning we don't just get to see the things that are appealing. We get to see the flaws, the chinks in the armor. Yep. We get to see that, oh man, like mama and daddy don't always have it together. What daddy told me is dope. It's good game. It is going to help me out there, but I can also see that, I don't just need to know how to get women. I need to learn how to do what? Prevent myself from getting in arguments. How do I navigate when a woman is upset? Like, if you don't have all of those pieces to the puzzle, once again, you're going to be at a disadvantage. And I think that, one, when you're on internet, you got to recognize that we're being influenced, we're being indoctrinated. If you are unaware of that, then you're already at a disadvantage. The minute you tune into a YouTube video, the minute you tap into an influencer on IG or whatever the case is, you are being indoctrinated. We all are. Like, it's just the way that nature works. how cognizant you are of it is going to determine the roots that it's
Yeah.
able to establish in your subconscious. So if you walk in and you're like, okay, I don't have to run anything that this person says through a filter, that's dangerous because
Mm.
they're going to be programming you without you even being aware of it.
Yeah.
Versus if I tap into a video and I'm like, just case in point, this is what I do. I watch some YouTube videos with different relationship channels and I'm like, okay, I want to hear what this man has to say on this point, but I know that there are some things that from listening to previous videos, I don't necessarily agree with him.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
before I press play, I'm establishing the filters that I need to run his information through.
Mm.
I need to safeguard the things that I have established as my foundation for that way that I want to live my life. Not to say that I'm not open to learning new things, but there are certain things that I may have identified as toxic from somebody. And if I'm putting myself in that situation, it's just like, like the CDC. If they're going somewhere and they're trying to figure out whether or not there's been some chemical leak or something, they're gonna put on the hazmat suit. They got to like in order for me to go evaluate what's going on in this environment, I have to first protect myself. And I look at it the same way. If I'm looking at somebody's YouTube video, listening to a podcast, or checking out somebody's IG field, it's just I got to put my hazmat suit on. I got to be making sure that I protect who I am at my core, so that I'm not negatively influenced by the things that this person may be sharing that could have a negative impact on me. And to your point, when you only see the quote unquote highlights, or you only see what they want you to see, the glamorous stuff, that same woman that you're talking about, that feminist influencer who she's showing you all of her wins and all of this stuff, you don't see the fact that she may be crying herself to sleep. You may not see the fact that she on her knees praying to meet the right guy, but she can't meet him. She's trying to figure out herself, like, why am I having such bad experiences with men? But she's not going to ever get on the gram and be like, yo, I suck with this whole relationship with men. Like, she's never going to do that. Like, or I would say I ain't never seen it happen.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead, bro.
No, for me, that's just the problem with a lot of these influencers. Women who have bad experiences with men or can't attract the men that they want is, they put in this facade, right? They put in this facade, everything's good, everything's happy, but in reality, we all know, that they're hurting inside, and there's a lot of hardships behind closed doors that we don't see, but they perpetuate this like false image that, oh no, everything's good, right? And I love what you said about always putting that filter. I think for me, one of the best things I heard, I always tell my subscribers who always, ask about my advice on the live chat, and I heard it from Gary Vee. He says, like, whenever you hear an opinion, always be willing to listen, but always compare it to your own opinion. Okay. So I always tell that to people that ask me for advice. Look, I want to give you my advice but understand that this is things I've gone through in my personal life and my experiences, because we come from different places. Right. So just be open to listen. But I always tell people, like, always compare it to your own advice. Like, what do you think? Because I want people to think for themselves. Right. I don't want you to be just like, a robot and just program everything. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there just getting programmed by everything that we see on social media. But it's very important to just think for yourself. All right. Does he make sense? Is he just talking trash right now? Is there trash coming out of his mouth? But that's the thing. When you think for yourself, and like I said, take the good and take the bad. And I have a lot of social media content creators I follow too, and a lot of things I agree, a lot of things I disagree. All right. But don't just take things at full value. A lot of women, because they're not logical, they're more emotional. They take the advice, because men, when we hear advice from other men, we can tell, like, oh, that guy's full of trash. Because we just think about a logical perspective. But a lot of women, they often they make everything very emotional for them. So, like, whatever a woman says, they just feed off that emotion and then trust it with full value and never question or ever think about it.
Yeah, I highly recommend, people recognizing the fact that, one, you're being influenced, you're being indoctrinated. And then secondly, having a filter, be mindful of how you are interacting with the people that you are allowing to speak into your life. That's important. So before, we kind of close things out, I think that there's an important question that the women want to know, which is, how can they increase the chances of men approaching them? What can a woman do to get more men when they're out and about approaching them?
Oh man, I like this question. Let's really close off this podcast. For me, if you want more men to approach you, just know what men want. You have to know what men want, right? It's like the best way I can explain it is, like, if you want a job, right? If you want to do you think it's really, really important to know what that job is looking for?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So if you know what the job is looking for, what you can do is to give you the best way for that job to give you the opportunity is like work on those things that they're looking for.
Right.
Right. If you know that job has a certain things they're looking for and you totally do the opposite of it,
Mm-hmm.
what is the probability you get of that job coming to you? Right.
Right. Right.
So it's just like everything in life that whatever we seek, you have to have a basic understanding of what it requires.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want men to approach you, just you have to know what men want. Right? If you know what men want, then like I said, then work on those things. It's just like for men, like for men, like when we pursue women, you have to know what women want. If you want women to have if you want a better closure rate of women accepting you,
Mm-hmm.
men know. Most men already know this, but we already know what women are looking for. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why a lot of guys like we work on those things because we know that gives us the best chance of women accepting our advances, right?
Right.
And the same thing with women. You have to know what women want, and that's why these podcasts, like your podcast, is important. You're talking to women,
Mm-hmm.
give this information. Same thing with my podcast. I have a podcast
Yes.
where I can share with women the men perspective. This is
Right.
what we want. A lot of times, if you're caught up with the feminism,
Mm-hmm.
feminism will tell you will never tell you to listen to what a man, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing. Know what men want. It's real simple. Know what men want. Once you know that, work on it,
Mm-hmm.
and then the men will start to approach you.
Yeah.
But a lot of women
I,
just have no idea.
that's good. That's good. And I really like the analogy that you gave about the job. And I look at it in two stages, right? I think that whenever you're evaluating a position that you want at a particular company, there's two things that you need to look at. And you
Yeah.
mentioned one of them, which is what does that specific job that you're applying for, what requirements do they need from you? Like what do
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
require? What skills, what
Yep.
degree level, all of that type of stuff. But then there's something that is just as important, which is the company itself. What is their company culture? What
Mm.
foundations did that company stand on in order to see if the company is a good fit? That's why you have the same role at many different companies. But there's a reason why some people choose to have that same role, but not work for company A, but
Mm.
work for company B instead. Because why? The culture, what that company is about, is important. This is how it applies to what you said. I believe that understanding men falls into the company culture. That's
Mm.
something, or I take that back. That applies to the actual position that you're applying for. That position may be at a bunch of different companies, right? But that particular position that you're applying for has its specific, requirements, regardless of what company you apply. So
Mm.
for a woman, there are going to be certain principles about men that are going to apply regardless of what man you're interacting with.
Facts. Facts.
Now, when we talk about the specific company that you're applying to, that's where I think a woman needs to go beyond just understanding men, but understanding the specific man that you're engaging with. And this is the same thing, like, from a man's perspective, you may have a cursory, or we may have a cursory understanding of a women's nature in general, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then you're going to have to tailor your conversations and your interactions to the woman that's in front of you at that time. That's
Mm.
why pickup lines and stuff don't work, because
Yeah.
you applying the same thing, the same
Yeah.
word to different women, and you're not going to get the same results, because to some women humor is a way in. For some women it may be deep intellectual conversation, and that's the reason why I think you have to take both of those things into consideration. But ultimately, man, what you said is on point. But I want you to be specific before we wrap up. What are three things that men want that women should know about?
Oh, okay. All right. For me, the biggest things I think what men want for me is like they want feminine women, right? They want feminine women.
Mhm.
They want cooperative women, and they want attractive women. It's that's and all
Femininity, cooperation, and attraction.
and for all women. And the great thing and the great thing about being a woman, the things that men want, you can control, right?
Mhm.
You can control that. You can control all those things: your femininity, your attraction. For men, like the very things that women want out of us. I think the biggest thing we can't control is our height. We can't do nothing about
Right,
that.
right.
but for a lot, but for a
Fact.
lot, but a lot of things that we want out of women, you have full control over it. But we just want feminine women. We want women very cooperative, and we want attractive women. And you guys can control all those things. And if you work on those things, put in effort, the same thing as for men as well. Like I said, but I want to make sure this is not a guarantee, ladies. This is not.
Right.
There's a guarantee, but it's going to increase your likelihood. Because for me
Right.
personally, when I see a very attractive, very feminine, very friendly, cooperative, friendly woman, like
Hmm.
I'm instantly like attracted.
Right.
Like, it
Right.
doesn't matter what I'm doing. I'm like I'm looking.
Right. That's real.
But what do you think? What do you think? That's I don't know. Flip it to you.
Nah, I think that the things that you said, I feel like you summed it up, man. And I don't want to confuse the matters anymore, because I think keeping things simple is the best way. And I agree with you.
Yeah,
A woman who's feminine is definitely attractive. A woman who is cooperative is extremely attractive. And to me, I would just elaborate on that one. If I can do anything, is elaborate on cooperation. To me, it's about being receptive. A
yeah,
woman who is receptive to engaging and
mm,
interacting with me, who is actively listening and, paying close attention to the things that I'm talking about, able to identify my interests and, bring those things up in future conversations and show that she really does take a genuine interest in me as an individual. So, kind of going back to that whole analogy about applying for the job, at some point, I need a woman to acknowledge that, okay, I understand you as a man, but now I want to understand you as an individual. To
yeah,
me, that's something that I find extremely attractive. And to your point, the last one was her being attractive. And yeah, that's the one thing that we talked about this on one of our live shows. Men, we have a much greater range when it comes to what we find attractive than the majority of women. Because
yeah.
to your point, if you don't meet this height requirement, it's like a roller coaster. Like you have no chance of riding, man. She's not letting you on. So with men, we have very few of those like hard and fast rules when it comes to a woman having a certain quality or lacking a certain characteristic, or physical, or emotional, mental, whatever the case may be, us not having any interest in her. So that's the one thing that I would say is acknowledging those same things that you said: her being feminine, her being cooperative, and her being attractive. Yeah.
Yeah, and then one last thing I want to add on to that
Please.
is for all the women out there, if you want to know increase the likelihood of attracting a good quality man, you don't want to attract all men. If you attract all men, then that's a problem.
Right.
And that's a you problem. That's a you
Right.
problem. So you want to attract quality men, right? And for me, the best way to do it is go talk to strong, healthy, quality men that are in long lasting relationships. Go
Okay.
talk to them. Go talk to those guys, right?
Mhm.
And that's something I always I always believe, like, whatever you want out of life, go find somebody that's doing what you want out of life, because he's doing it, so he has the
Mhm.
experience and knowledge, and he can pass that on to you. It's the same thing.
Right.
If you want to know how to attract those types of men, go talk to those men, right? In your
Yeah.
family, in your friend circle, and also go talk to the women who marry those men.
Right.
Those women,
Right.
one thing I always find it interesting when I have my podcast, right?
Hmm.
The perspective of the married women and the
Right.
perspective of the single woman, two different perspectives.
Night and day.
Because
Night and day.
because
Hmm.
like I said, like the women who are very independent and don't have a lot of experience dealing with men, they have
Hmm.
no idea, they don't have a lot of practical experience. But when you talk to women who've been married from a strong,
Hmm.
healthy man for long periods of time, they
Hmm.
understand that they understand more men more, because they deal with them every day.
Right. And you know what I find so interesting is that when you put those two women in a room together or on a panel together,
Yeah,
it's something that always stands out to me is I'm always on guard to see how does that single woman on the panel respond to the married woman,
yeah,
because it reveals a lot to me of how she is going to respond to men from my just own personal
yeah,
perspective.
yeah.
When I see the married woman sharing the insights that she's learned and giving out what I would consider good gems and
Gems,
good
yeah, gems,
information,
facts.
and then the single woman will come in and try to rebut those things
Yeah,
and say, well, nah,
exactly.
it's different because I'm a single woman. It's not the same thing. I'll be like, ooh, that is not a receptive woman. She can't
Yeah,
even listen to a woman that has solved the quote unquote problem that
exactly.
she's still trying to maneuver. Like, she's not even receptive to listening to her. So how in the world could I expect that this woman is going to be wanting to hear anything I got to say as a man? And nine
Exactly.
times out of 10, she doesn't. So that's the one thing that I would say, ladies, is to go in alignment with what you said, Will. As a single woman, don't just be willing to put yourself in a position where you can be receptive to men, but also put yourself in a position where you're
Receptive.
receptive to marry women
Married
who are
women.
married, as you said, to the type of men that you one day want to be married to.
Exactly. Yeah. That's. I always tell those women, and I always find it interesting that the different perspectives, and for me, it's like logical. Like, why would you battle somebody that has what you want?
Yeah. And you know what I find so interesting, Will, is when the single woman tries to disqualify the married woman's perspective because she's married. That's when I just be like, yo, sis, it's like you're
Oh,
more interested in being right in this moment than getting the results that you want. And this is something that me and you we didn't talk about here on this live, but the last time that we were speaking with one another, remember when we were talking about debating and how
yeah,
some people lose sight of like
yeah.
what's more important is, to me, learning is much more important than me debating. Like if I'm in a moment to be taught by somebody and they're showing themselves to be a astute teacher, oh man, I'm gonna fall back and I'm gonna learn in this moment. Like if I got a married man spitting some game on the podcast or the live show, I'm gonna fall back and I'm gonna soak up everything that he has to say. You know, especially if he's shown himself to be a man of character. He's married to the type of woman that I look at and be like, oh dang, she meet all of them qualifications that Will just met. Yo, my man wife, she's attractive, she's cooperative, and she feminine. That's the type of woman I want to be married to. Let me
Yeah,
sit back and listen to what
yeah,
this brother got to say
exactly.
about how he was able to not only attract that type of woman, marry that type of woman, but he's still actually married to her and they got a positive relationship. Let me
Exactly.
shut up and let him talk.
And that's my experience dealing. And we were talking about earlier in the podcast the traits, right, between
Yes.
masculine and feminine, right. And my experience when you deal with feminine women, who are more agreeable, they're more receptive because they're
Yeah.
willing to listen, right.
Mm-hmm.
When you deal with a very masculine woman, there's this. I know this quote. You know, sometimes people listen to respond, but they don't listen to understand.
Right.
So when I deal with masculine women, when I say something, they're listening to me, but they're not hearing me.
Mm-hmm.
they're listening. They're listening to respond. So that's why
Mm-hmm.
even if you put them a panel with a married woman that has a strong, healthy masculine man, the type of men that most women would want,
Mm-hmm.
because they're so because of their nature, because they're so masculinized, like they just listen to respond because they just want to disagree instead of just
Mm-hmm.
listening. So like to listen and understand that it's not about who is right or wrong. The
Right.
key is like the solution. That's the key.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we kind of I've kind of in my own podcast I'm kind of like the debating thing. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna I'm just
Right.
gonna fall back a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fall back a little bit because I don't want to make it into a debate because like it's not a competition. That's the thing. A lot of women today in America, they think dating or in relationships between men and women like it's about competing. And we're
Mm.
not here to compete. We're here to find a way to come together because competition means like one is better than the other,
Right.
right? That's
Right.
what if you're competing to win. Like I'm right, I'm better, I'm the
Mm-hmm.
winner, and that's not what relationship. Because it's not like because like it's no longer I, it's a we,
Right.
right?
That's right.
So it's like when you in a relationship, and I always break this down to ladies. It's like you're it's no longer I no more. It's we. It's like what are we gonna do to figure this out so we can move forward?
Exactly.
But if you always operate in an independent, I don't need a man mentality, then you're
Mm-hmm.
always operating from a what do I need, and you're always going to disregard what the other person says or their perspective.
Man. Wow. You have dropped so many golden nuggets, man. Will, it has been such an honor and a pleasure having you come on here on the podcast, man. And I'm
Yeah.
super excited about sharing this with the real lovers. Before we go, are there any questions that you like to ask me personally or any last or closing words that you like to leave us with today?
No, no. First and foremost, I want to say, Jay, thank you so much. Thank you for this
Yo, thank
opportunity.
you.
Hey, you were dropping bombs too, my brother. I'm definitely gonna rewatch this and listen to you. And you dropped some great knowledge. I want to go back and
Thank you.
write it down. You dropped some great things. But the thing is, like the one that I want to leave for all the women out there and the men as well, is like don't get discouraged. Like all the
Mhm.
things, that's just life. Life is hard. Life is unfair. Everybody goes through ups and downs,
Right.
and yeah, just don't get discouraged with these type of conversations. I know oftentimes when we have these conversations, sometimes people get very polarized. Oh, they're all the same,
Yeah.
and they're not.
Not at all.
And the
Not
men,
at all.
there's good women out there.
Mhm.
There's
Many.
good there's good men out there as well.
Yep.
Unfortunately, in
Many of
life,
them.
there's always the good and the bad. So
Mhm.
that's why we have this conversation. So all the women out there, just to say, I know if you don't know me, you don't follow me. There's a narrative out there that people say that I don't like women, I hate women, because the type of content discussions I make. I appreciate, I love them. I'm very traditional. That's how I was raised by my family. My parents been together for since over 20, 30 years.
Wow.
I've been blessed with the great example.
Yes.
But I also understand the perspective. A lot of people don't have that, and that's why it's really, really important. And I appreciate the work that Jay does. He's doing a lot of great work to help a lot of women out there and men as well. And that's why I do what I do. I'm very passionate what I do. And yeah, man, if you love it, if you want to find me, if you don't mind, I do a shameless plug.
Of course, there's no shame. Go ahead, let everybody know.
yeah, if you want to find me, I know Jay's gonna drop the link, but I do a modern dating show every Saturday, 9 p.m. California time, and I do a show on Wednesday as well. And come holler at your boy.
Perfect. Yo, Will, thank you so much, man. It's truly been an honor and a pleasure speaking with you, and we'd love to have you come back on if you're ever interested, man.
Hey, I'm always Jay, man. I'm always welcome, man. I'm always open, man. Whenever you just hit me up, I'm in there, man. I love these type of conversations.
Thank you, man. I love it as well, man. And I just want to say thank you again for everything that you shared with us today, man. I truly, truly appreciate you.
All right, brother.